In this presentation, I'll be analysing the short film Pharaoh for its ideas and techniques. The intended idea of the film is that we should not let others control our decisions and that we should stand up for what is right. For my presentation, I'll be showing how a number of different techniques are used to communicate this message to the audience. The first technique is lighting, and here you can see the opening shot of the film. Sunlight streams in over the Pharaoh, and this creates a positive representation of the character. The early lighting on the character is bright and comfortable, and it makes her look both good and innocent. In comparison, the guard, who's really the bad guy of the film, is shown in much darker lighting, and this makes his character appear more negative and threatening. We feel like he's having a negative influence. After listening to the advice of the guard, the throne room is overtaken by darkness, and this suggests that the Pharaoh doesn't feel good anymore. It puts her in a more negative light. We can now see the Pharaoh shown in darkness, and it looks like the guard's negative influence has overtaken her. This reinforces the idea that we shouldn't let other people control us, because while she seemed happier and good at the beginning, after listening to someone else and letting herself be influenced, now she's shown in a much more negative light. Fortunately, the Pharaoh stands up to the guard, and as she stands up for herself, she walks back into the light. Here we can see that she has chosen to move away from the darkness, and she hasn't let the guard have a negative influence and has stood up for what was right. At the end of the film, we see a similar shot to the beginning, however it's much darker. Despite this, the Pharaoh still sits in the light, representing that she's still chosen to be good, even though darkness seems to be surrounding her. Another technique used to communicate ideas is the camera. We first see the Pharaoh from a high-angled shot, which makes her seem small and vulnerable. The wide shot shows how small she is in comparison to her surroundings, making her seem even less significant. The close-up mid-shot shows her nervous expression, and the size of her head and eyes in comparison to her body has the same effect as a high-angled shot, which makes her seem less certain and weaker. In comparison, the guard is shown from a low-angled shot, and he appears much stronger and more threatening. When the guard is pressuring the Pharaoh to make a decision, we see him from a low-angled shot, and here he seems to have more authority and be more threatening. As well as the angle, we also see changes in the camera shots that are used, and the threatening nature of the guard is enhanced as the camera gets closer, with the move from a close-up to an extreme close-up making him seem more intense. We see a similar change when it comes to the Pharaoh, even though the effect is the opposite. The Pharaoh also moves from a close-up to an extreme close-up, but this has the opposite effect of making her seem even more vulnerable and nervous the more pressure the guard puts on her. After she's pressured into making her decision, the relationship between the Pharaoh and the guard is emphasised by the high and low angled shots that show him towering over her at her weakest point. This shows the negative effect of listening to his influence. These techniques change again, however, when the Pharaoh stands up to the guard and walks up the stairs into a low-angled shot, making her seem more powerful. The guard is then shown from a high-angled shot to show that he is now the weak one. This represents how she is no longer being influenced by him and standing up for what is right. In comparison to the first shot, the Pharaoh is shown from a low-angled shot, and even though it's a wide shot again, the darkness hides the giant statues and things that made her look insignificant at the beginning, showing that she's now stronger and more powerful than she was before. In summary, Pharaoh teaches us that we should not let others control our decisions and that we should stand up for what is right. And this idea was shown through changes in the techniques of lighting, camera, high-angled and low-angled shots, wide shots, close-ups and extreme close-ups.